Welcome, everybody. I'm Paul Cagovine. I'm the Adult Services Specialist here at the library. This is the City Director Candidate Forum. It's live streamed on the library's YouTube channel and Facebook page. So if you'd like to share the recording of this with anybody, you're absolutely welcome to, encouraged to. Last week, we had the Justice of the Peace Candidate Forum, and that had 15 candidates and about 2.5 hours. Tonight we only have 3 candidates, so I think it'll be much shorter. So, Bart, you were a JP candidate. You were here last week. Are you glad you're on that side?
Yes, I am indeed. Yes, thank you.
So we are going to get started here. But before we do, I've invited the mayor of Oxford, Pat McKay. He's going to speak for a few moments about the importance of the city elected position and also going to lead us in the pledge. Please welcome Mayor McKay.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out this evening. We'll begin with a pledge, so please rise. Flags right here. Join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, liberty and justice. Just a little bit about city government. You know, we're very different than perhaps what you might think of as county government. We have 7 directors. I serve as director of position 7, which is the mayor's position. So we have 6 individual districts. Each one is proportionate to each other. So one of our challenges every 10 years when the census is taken is to make sure that each district is equally proportioned. So if we have 36,000 residents in the city of limits of Hot Springs, each district should have approximately 6,000 people. So sometimes that's a challenge. This year we have 3 positions that were open for election. 2 years ago we had 4, so it's 3 and 4, 4 and 3. You know, it's 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. So myself, City Director District 2, Phyllis Beard, Karen Garcia and Director Garcia and Director Dudley Webb. You know, we ran 2 years ago, and we'll run 2 years from now. Those who wish to run for re-election. And so this year we have 3 races. 2 of them are unopposed. I'll go backwards. Steve Trusty, Director Steve Trusty, 6. He ran unopposed. City Director District 3, Marcia Dobbs Smith, she ran opposed. So we come to District 1, which we have 3 individuals. Incumbent City Director District 1, Holiday, Chris and Mark Hall are all for that position. City government deals a lot with planning and zoning within the city limits of Hot Springs. That is really a hot button. You know, short-term rentals is a really hot button. It's going to come up again at the state legislature. There are some individuals there at the state legislature that wants short-term rentals to be at the state level, governing local issues, all about local control and focusing on the neighborhoods. And every neighborhood's a little different. So those are issues that confront us. Currently, we have a budget. We have a very, very large budget, and you know, as the saying goes, show me your checkbook, and I'll show you your priorities. So same thing here with city government and the way we work. But I'm not going to go on and on and on. You know, we have some very good candidates, but really, really focus on the fact that, you know, in city government, if there's 7 of us, it takes 4 to do anything. And sometimes that changes. We generally are not much of a split vote, but there are times when people have different backgrounds and experiences and focused on their areas of expertise, their areas of experience, and go a certain way, and that's all great. That's what it's all about. But at the end of the day, no one person can do things on their own. It takes at least them plus 3 others. So recognize that as candidates speak, and certainly I'm available at any time to answer any questions. You know, I know we had some issues recently that we put a Facebook post out here later today or first thing in the morning with some issues that arose the other day regarding just the fall, and the leaves are falling. And what do you do when people are blowing leaves off the street? So, be that as it may, we have a great group here tonight. And so, Paul, I'm going to kick it back to you, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go over the rules, but before I do, an invitation to all of you. This is not an official library event, but there's going to be another forum here tomorrow, hosted by the Growing Good Government Group and Toastmasters. Bob Ritter is the president, chair, one of those two of these groups, and this is at 5:30 tomorrow. We'll have several candidates for federal, state, county, and local districts, including National Park College and school boards. So we'd like to hear from some more candidates in this room tomorrow at 5:30. So the rules for the same format last week's JP forum. The incumbent will go first, followed by the challenger. Since the race has 2 challengers, the 2 incumbents are speaking in alphabetical order because the announcement of this forum outdraw had not been conducted yet. So next election season in 2026, I'm sure we'll revisit our formats. Things that are consistent. The format is staying. Candidates will be given 3 minutes to give, followed by 5 additional minutes to answer audience questions in a sort of self-moderated style. Candidates may choose to not use all of their allotted time for either part, but they may not give their time to themselves in one of the other 2 sections or other candidates, and they may not have a proxy speak on their behalf. And all 3 candidates are present, so that won't be a concern. For both the 3-minute speech and the 5-minute audience Q&A, candidates will be able to see their remaining time over here on the screen, but they'll also be given verbal notices by the timekeeper at 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and when time is up. So when it comes to the 5-minute Q&A from the audience, this time, this is the change from last week. This time will start as soon as the first question from the audience member has finished and the candidate starts answering that questions. So time will not stop or pause during further questions. So this is where the self-moderated aspect comes in. Candidates will follow on whomever they choose from the audience. And I'm kindly asking the audience, please keep your questions short and concise. Please don't share personal stories about what's going on in your neighborhood, and be respectful of the candidate's time. We will have some time afterwards, since we're going to be so quick with all 3 candidates that we can read the candidates. So candidates, do you have any questions or need any clarification before we start? Okay. Get started. So our first, can everybody hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Our first candidate will be the incumbent city director, Aaron Holiday. 3 minutes once you get to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to the library for hosting. This is an amazing resource, and I am personally very happy that the library is still safe. I'm Erin Holiday, City Director for District 1, and I have served in this position since 2019. I also serve on the Advertising and Promotion Commission. Prior to this, I served on the Planning Commission and the Community Development Advisory Committee, and altogether I volunteered to represent District 1 for 11 years. I came into this role in a roundabout way. I was born and raised here, and I left for college in Kansas City where I studied sculpture. While there, I also studied entrepreneurship and small business development. It was during my time in Kansas City where my career in arts nonprofit began. It's also where my love for community development and neighborhood preservation was born while I was serving on the neighborhood association board. In 2010, I returned home. Right away, I became involved in the community, volunteering and serving on the boards of local organizations and consulting with small business startups. In 2012, I began my current position as Executive Director of Emerging Arts, and I've grown the organization into a bright and vibrant art center that it is today. I'm a very knowledge-driven person. I can't begin to count how many workshops and trainings I've attended across so many subjects. And to better serve the city of Hot Springs, I earned my professional community and economic developer certification, a nationally recognized honor, by attending all 4 years of the Community Development Institute at UCA. After that, I had to pass an exam in order to get that certification. While on the Planning Commission, I attended 3 statewide trainings and in my own time completed a multi-step capstone project that earned the Certified Arkansas Planning Official honor. I also attend the Arkansas Municipal League conferences twice a year, so I can stay up to date with laws and best practices for city officials. It's through these trainings, various board service, and my previous position as Executive Director of the statewide advocacy organization. I formed relationships with community leaders and elected officials all over the state. It's because of those relationships in this network that I'm able to reach out directly to state legislators and communicate with them if there is a bill that might impact Hot Springs. I can talk to other city leaders about what's working in their community, and I can bring good ideas back to Hot Springs. Hot Springs is incredibly diverse, specifically in District 1, and the wants and needs of one person may not necessarily help someone else. Moving forward, I will continue to bring experience, balance, and creative solutions to the city board. I'm looking forward to bringing 2 decades of nonprofit experience to our resource center and working on strategies for the public art program, and I'm excited to introduce a municipal ID program. So I'm dedicated to Hot Springs. I take it seriously. And let's be real, I have a mortgage and a 15-year-old, so I'm absolutely invested in the future of our community.
We'll now do 5 minutes of audience questions. Or you get to choose.
So you mentioned the program, and that's something you want to do fresh ideas, new information.
Yeah, absolutely. So Little Rock has a municipal ID program. We have a great website if you want to get into the nuts and bolts of it. There's one starting in Little Rock as well. And so what this is it's a program where the city will issue a photo ID, and it's for those individuals who may not qualify for a state ID for whatever reason. They may be unhoused, they may be in a reentry program, they may have documentation status that is in flux. And so what this will do will allow those individuals to engage in society in a way that is more similar to the rest of us if they do not want or cannot get a state ID or driver's license. On kind of a personal note, I am the guardian of an elderly woman with dementia, and she obviously cannot have a driver's license. But if she were able to get a municipal ID, even just to have that piece of plastic in her purse is something that makes her feel that she still has that autonomy and independence that she didn't have before. And so by doing this, we would definitely be able to verify one's who they are, their identity, and their residency, but it will not allow you to vote. It doesn't allow you to drive a car. One of the things I really hope will happen, and Little Rock's working on getting this really solidified, is working with financial institutions. So those individuals would also be able to engage in the banking locally and kind of, like I said, kind of normalize their movement throughout our community. So in this process, I've been working on this for about 18 months. I started by talking to Joe Nadcock in Little Rock. And since I've come back and talked to community organizations and then also the police, and I will say PD, even as recently as last week, I had a meeting with the FOP and brought it up again. And our downtown officer said specifically this is something that would be helpful because in addition to having that photo and that name, we can have other things on the back. Little Rock, they have special needs medical conditions in first language. So when a first responder is engaging with someone and they may have communication issues, whether it's language or a disability, that's going to be on there. And so they can bring someone else in if they need help. And they'll also know someone has a medical condition. And that may be why whatever is going on with them may have an answer right there on that ID as well. So I hope that helps. Jean?
I live right up above the Linden Park. And could you refresh my memory about the Covenant Recovery House and the city's involvement in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that, and that's something I think that has been a really divisive issue in our community or in our neighborhood. So for those of you that don't know, Covenant Recovery is housed in an old elementary school that's right next to Linden Park. And it's a program that works with men who are in recovery for substance abuse. So this came through the city as a conditional use because that particular facility is commercially zoned. And in order to have more than 8 people live under one roof, you have to have a conditional use. And so it went to the Planning Commission and was appealed to the city board. And so one note for that is when we have appeals that come to us, it's quasi-judicial, which means that we are not allowed to speak to the public about it, which was very difficult because so many people in my neighborhood wanted to talk about it. And so that particular facility in all of the kind of volleyball back and forth, it came to the board several times, ultimately was voted down by the board. So that conditional use permit was not approved. And so what that particular organization did is they went ahead and went with the state, and the state has given them approval, and the state now has jurisdiction over it. I know a lot of people were upset that I had voted yes on this, and I did not vote yes because I wanted it in our neighborhood, or I necessarily thought it was the best use for the building. The reason I voted yes is that the city then had a conditional use agreement with that facility, then we would have a seat at the table if they broke any of those conditions. So the concerns that were coming from the neighborhood with this condition, if we had all said yes, then if any one of those things were broken, if the organization itself went wrong, the city could then threaten and ultimately remove that condition. Super fast, Bart. How fast?
So you probably know I'm currently honored to serve as chair of the planning commission. And I know there's been a lot of talk about manufactured homes.
Mm-hmm.
What is your position on that?
In 10 seconds. Okay, so with respect to the code, the easiest thing to say is that planning is recommending that we move overlays at all. And so we'll be able to discuss further into manufactured homes.
We will have more time afterwards to address the question. Next up is Chris Ricks.
Good evening, friends and neighbors. I'm Chris Ricks. I know several of you, and it's familiar faces in the audience. 20 years in real estate, just under 20 years. I've done lots of development all around every neighborhood in Garland County, and even drifting further into Arkansas, multiple markets. I've created different businesses over the years. I've created jobs for people continually. We just talked about Covenant Recovery. I have a building that backs up to one of their houses. I've been championing for those gentlemen. I've been supporting some of them, counseled several of them, and helped keep them off premise when they were up to fall off. There are many things that are concerns for me. One of those is safety. That's one of our biggest concerns for us as a community. It has to do with crosswalks. It has to do with neighborhoods being broken into. It has to do with landlords that are somewhat absent, but don't actually take care of their property. These are all concerns for us. Right? We're seeing different things that we can probably tighten up a little bit in our communities. We can start by attending our neighborhood meetings. Those are very important. That's how we all communicate. Safety is an issue that's hot on my top. I don't want to see another tourist not go home or go home injured. And then that leads right into tourism. We're in the service industry as a community. Every one of us. I don't care if you're a lawyer or a doctor or you wait tables. We're in the service industry, and we've got to preserve our tourism. We have tourists arriving. That's a fact. We do. But now we have to preserve the tourism. We have to continue to cater to those people. That's all very important to me. That's our promotion. That's everything we do. These things are very important. I too have worked on nonprofit. I worked with the Hot Springs Documentary Film Festival when it was going under. The Malco was a difficult situation. We had to, I sold that for them, and that basically nailed out the film festival. I wanted the film festival to continue because in October, every single year it comes to town with a lot of people. Servers get to pay their rent after that because we have all these beautiful people come to town. These are just some of the things: transparency, accountability, safety. These are all things that are very important to me. And together, we can grow this better communication within the different departments. I've done many projects. I've worked together with many people over the years. So I feel very comfortable being able to work with other board members and grow this city in the direction forward.
5 minutes for questions.
What is your position in the importance of bringing retirees in to diversify from being purely a tourism economy to being an economy with more sources of income that stays solid through good times and bad? How important is bringing in retirees is for the city to use?
Well, it's very important to me. I have a lot of other friends I know. Making a place, we don't have a very elderly center anymore that's closed down. I think that we can do all to help embrace the resources for the elderly, getting transportation so elderly can get to doctors. I've cared for my grandmothers, the one passed away. I know what it is to be on a tight budget. I don't have full answers for that, but I believe as a city, it's our need 100% to take care of the elderly and the children. That's the most important thing in my heart. Yes, ma'am.
Your resume is very impressive. What is the advantage to citizens of just electing you? What can you offer that you don't already?
Well, I think that being able to communicate with people on the board, I bring a lot of experience in the fact that I've done development. I can see things within the community that we might be able to do a little bit better or bring to the table and talk about as board members, which then would help promote healthy living and growth within our individual communities, be it a crosswalk, be it a park, potentially a basketball goal, anything like that brings community together. So these are things that with my lens of the different neighborhoods, having literally worked in almost every single neighborhood in this town in the real estate sector, I can understand when there's a piece missing that might make, we talk about complete streets, and I think complete streets are very important. That includes bike lanes, walking. I kind of champion for complete neighborhoods. And over time, it's just normal economic growth and then decline. And we're, as a city, growing. We have an economic growth. So different playgrounds, different things that they're missing within our community, be it a soccer field that needs to be tuned, whatever it is. Bringing these things together makes a whole community. And that is the growth forward that we need to realize into as a community together. As board members, city departments, within our departments, we have some fantastic city employees, and they bring things up. and present it. Because they live here and they know what we need. And it's up to us as directors to listen to our city employees that are presenting things and then implement.
What do you plan on doing to increase pedestrian safety, specifically on crosswalks? I myself, I did running a crosswalk downtown this summer, so I'm just concerned as to what we could do to improve.
Thank you. That immediately it goes into, which is obviously a hot point, accountability, transparency, communication. I get a lot of times, I've been working on this for about 10 years. I've got an email that was sent off in 2017 with ideas of making it more safe. And it was sent back with a list of stuff that never happened for our community. We've got to work together. I don't want to hear one more single time that that's part of it, because that's the answer. That's the answer. We've got to get together, and I don't care how we do it. If it's hard, I think we all have to get in a room together and sit down and fix the problem, and I think that's what we're gonna have to do. That's the answer. First, we have to get the traffic slowed down. We have to get our crosswalks in a better format that let people know, hey, there are people crossing. Is it a flashing light? Yes, sometimes. Is it a push button that says don't walk because, and it's actually speaking? I've traveled, I've lived in different areas, I've seen things that work. I know what to bring to Hot Springs to implement. We've got problems coming into town, all the way down on Park Avenue. It's just a highway. There's nothing to really denote that we're coming into a residential area. And for whatever reason, Central Avenue is a drag race. It's not okay. Do not stop crosswalks. I hear, and yes, we're a tourist town. So it's okay for people to go here and shut their brain off. And sometimes they push the button, sometimes they don't think. We as a community need to realize these tourists are coming here to chill out, and we need to watch out. It's their responsibility too. It's our responsibility, but I don't want anybody else getting hit. And so, any other questions? Yes, in the red shirt. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's all right. Thank you all.
This felt so much smoother or shorter or longer when we had 15 candidates. Last number. Okay, next up we have Mark Toth, our
It is like. What is the hybrid that's different than the other two? The first talks about the park. That's what I think. You go up to Whittington, we have improved Baseball Trail Park. We're working on improving Linden Park. You look at the road done up there. I don't know how many of you have been up to the sidewalks. When people talk about applying for grants to improve them, I know those grants because I've been. I have the frustration. And oftentimes I guess the word is frustration of seeing projects being proposed that are contrary to what we all want in a quiet residential neighborhood. Aaron talked, Director Holliday talked about covenant. First, we want to be not a treatment plant. Facility. There's going to be a handful of that. 48 convicted felons who would be let out in the daytime. The city zoning code said it couldn't go there. The city attorney said it couldn't go there. She voted for it. We fought to keep a poorly conceived plan for a homeless shelter. You all have sympathy for the homeless, has to be addressed properly. You have to have the right resources. What was being proposed? Yes, you could call it, it was going to be a store, homeless shelter. We didn't fight. We had to fight for it because it was just poorly conceived. Successful. We were told that building would never be rehabbed. It's now a secure living facility, which we supported it. So, again, I come back to the perspective that I've read. It's I'm there in the community. I'm a member of the neighborhood. I talk to people. We propose to spend money on a I say we don't need that. I know based on my interactions with the people in District 1 where the money on our parks are finished. I guess that was a tough one.
That's specific to help with the whole simple. What specifics, please?
Okay, it's the resource center. And the way we address homelessness is you have to have case management. That's point blank. And that's very labor intensive. I know the people at CCM, some of that case management, the orange. But I think the focus has to be on case management with the case managers understanding where the resources are in this community and how to direct and help those people. It is basically, you assign someone, help that person find housing, if they need medical care, if they need drug treatment, if they're a veteran, they can go to veteran services. And then you follow up. You can't just hand them off to one nonprofit. And hallelujah, you have to follow through. And that's case management, that's social work. Very labor intensive. I don't know if this is going to undertake that. Because you're hiring a lot of people. But if the resource center gets open, if you are here, they will get grants. They'll allow them to do that long-term. Case management. Someone they can go to all the with them as they move through progress. Also, next question.
I just want to clear the record on something. I had received a promotional letter from you stating that the planning code was changing so that manufactured housing could be put anywhere in the city.
That was the proposal.
However, what has been to the city board, and I just want to go on record as saying that that is the case. We are interested in affordable housing and how to make sure that that is property. But the statement that you put on that flyer,
it was correct at the time. The draft code that the Senate board works stated that that it's been modified. Obviously, I would have to look at it. It has been modified. That's a good thing, because I know that like in District 1, there's a lot of people who the idea that whether you call it manufactured home or mobile home, could be put on any vacant lot right next to them. I had heard from many, many people that that's something they objected to. Now, I assume that this is a fairly recent development at the Planning Commission, this change?
it's something that has been in discussion for weeks, but we are having the final meeting tomorrow. I don't want to spend a lot of your time talking about that.
I got a minute and a half.
But our meeting tomorrow will be to
Finalize.
make a final approval from the planning commission to then go to the board. That's okay. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
But I would like to
Right. It was
Mr.
not.
Stafford, that the original plan, as I laid out, in the first draft, it would be allowed everywhere. In the second draft, which was the board right, they would be allowed everywhere. And what you're telling me is now in response to the outcome, or in response, it's being changed. That's a good thing. Very good. I know a lot of people in my district will be very, just going to be very happy. Yeah.
Quick question, what is what do you see the distinction between a mobile home and a manufactured home?
The legal distinction is your manufacturer. The description is word for word the same, except a mobile home, it says built before 1974. And otherwise, the description is the same, and the manufactured home is built after 1970. It's simply the year of manufacture. That is the legal distinction. And, next question. I'm sorry.
Make sure that houses in our neighborhood that are either vacant or occupied by long-term renters are maintained in the standards of the community.
It's all through code enforcement. With that, you gotta go through a slow process, but that's the only option available through the city. You can reach those people by access.
So everybody, we finished very early compared to previous candidate forums, so I encourage you to take your time, meet and greet with the candidates, ask any questions you didn't get a chance to. We have some cookies and waters up here. Ourselves. Once again, there is a candidate forum hosted by the government and Toastmasters here tomorrow. So if you have questions about that, you can speak to Mr. Greer's back. Thank you.